Hello everyone, good evening and welcome back once again for another round of the WCS GP3 Championship here in 2017. So tonight it is the second round of the championship and we are coming to you live from the Red Bull Ring in Austria, and it's the second time we visited here for the single-seater championship. Of course, we were here last season with the Formula 3 cars. I think it was quite late on in the season, so a quick return back to the Red Bull Ring, and we will be covering both the races here tonight in what can only be described as abysmal conditions right now. It's absolutely chucking it down with rain, and Josh, if this is anything to go with, then it surely is going to be quite a spectacle here today, and probably one with quite a few incidents if we have this continuation of rain. Joshua Anderson.
Yeah, it's going to be a really tricky one for the drivers indeed, and if we saw anything from the McGann series, it's going to be difficult in them, even more difficult in open wheelers perhaps. Yeah, they have more downforce, but more difficult to put the power down too, so it'll be really interesting to test the driver's skill around this rainy Austria.
Yeah, speaking of the rain, it's literally just stopped, hasn't it? It's all seems to have abated right at the very end as the checkered flag has dropped here on the qualifying session, but I don't think drivers will be able to really take advantage of that because the track is looking pretty wet right now, and that means that qualifying is all but done. There's a few drivers still going around, the likes of Daniel Brewer, Wopke Hoekstra, our current championship leader of course, after one round, and Niels Brugman, Tobias Olsen, who's also looking very strong in this GP3 championship so far. So the rest of the field are coming across the line, but it doesn't look like anyone's going to improve, Josh. It all looks like we're kind of done for qualifying right now.
Yeah, qualifying looks like it's pretty much just emptied itself out there, so to speak. Times aren't really going to improve, and the order that we're seeing now is probably going to be final.
Yeah, certainly. So a few more guys are coming through, but because it looks like it is pretty much it, I'll quickly run through what we have seen, and it appears that Roy Schroten has continued on his good run of form so far by taking pole position here today. Of course, he was our race 2 winner back in Austria, and it just seems to be that momentum has continued on because he's done an excellent job by setting a 1 minute 15.784 to take pole position here at the Red Bull Ring. Stefan Ruel was second, only less than 10th of a second behind, with Daniel Brewer in third as well. About another half a tenth back from him, so the times really were close here in qualifying, very close indeed.
Yeah, very close qualifying, and well, you get that a lot in open wheelers actually. Driver skill dictates just how quickly they're going to go. So I guess really, just really close field, really close driver skill. This is a guy we want to be seeing.
Yeah, it certainly is. Just seeing Daniel Brewer pounding around the track there, going around the final couple of corners and using up quite a bit of the road and a little bit more as well. So it seems to be that a few of these guys are just continuing on here. I'm surprised we haven't switched over to the warm-up yet, because that is effectively qualifying over. The checkered flag dropped quite a while back now. Just a couple of drivers still going around, but really I think they should be back in the pits at this point.
It's not really going to benefit them just to do even more laps, is it, to be honest?
No, certainly not. They're out on the wet weather tyres due to the rain, the sudden rain shower that we just had. But the first part of qualifying, it was pretty much dry, so that's why the times are as they are, and within the last 5 minutes of qualifying no one really managed to improve at all. So that meant that Roy Schroter was able to take pole, and he just got his lap time in perfectly when he needed to.
Yeah, just got his lap exactly when he needed to, really. Just what you need to do, just get your lap in.
Yeah, we've switched over then to warm-up, so we will have a few laps where the drivers just be able to get everything used to the car. I believe it's 10 minutes long, and right now it is absolutely chucking it down out there. It really is raining quite heavily indeed, and yeah, 10 minutes on the clock, so this is a good time then for the drivers to just get out there and get used to this wet weather, because I won't be surprised if this is exactly what we're going to see in 10 minutes time come when the drivers take to the grid. As the drivers just go around, I'll just give you a quick update then on where the championship is at the moment, and that is that, of course, Wupke Hoekstra, our current reigning champion. Even though he didn't win in Austria, he took a couple of very good race finishes. He got a second in race 1 and a third place in race 2, and that allowed him to get 33 points overall due to the point system, and that meant that he's actually leading the championship right now after the first round by 1 solitary point over Tobias Olsen. Again, another driver that didn't actually win either of the races, but just did a good enough job to get on the podium both times around.
Yeah, just did a good enough job. You know, sometimes that's where it's at. Consistency in these cars, you know, it's just what you need rather than outright pace. And, well, obviously proving that Wupke by staying so high in the standings, even without taking a race win. I imagine this sort of conditions and this track will be right up his alley. Yeah,
it certainly will be. But, of course, it is a bit of an unknown as well, isn't it? This is the first wet race that we've had this season. I don't believe it was wet last time out that we were at Red Bull Ring either, so it's going to be a bit of a new one for some of these drivers, and we have a good field again as well. We've got about 30 drivers here today for this race, very strong and healthy field, so it just means that there's going to be a lot of spray going up, especially if you're positioned in the midfield or further back. It's going to be a very difficult one to try and get through.
It is, yeah, and obviously, you know, the individual drivers are going to be going for, you know, tyre choices. You're going to say, are we going to go slicks, are we going to go wets, depending on whether you can stay on that line or not.
Yeah, really going to be very interesting stuff, and I'm just looking at the standings at the moment. Well, sorry, the current field of drivers, and unless I'm mistaken, Josh, I can't see Lars Brugman here today.
Yeah, I don't see him either. I see Niels Brugman, obviously part of the Brugman brothers, but I don't see Lars, no.
No, and of course that is fairly big because Lars Brugman took the first win in Australia last time out, so he was sitting third in the, well, he is currently sitting third in the championship, I should say, but whether that's the case or not by the end of the night remains to be seen if he actually is competing, but right now it doesn't appear that he's going to be here, so that's going to be a big haul of points lost for him, and that means at the very early stages of the season he could be leapfrogged by quite a few drivers, namely Roy Schroten, who's just behind him in the standings as well after his win he managed to pick up in Australia in race 2. Stefan Ruar, who's starting second here today, is in 5th, with Aidan Poulsen in 6th, Ben de Vries currently 7th in the championship on 13 points. Johan Lindberg is just 1 point behind in 8th, with Jeffrey Fournier in 9th, and Wesley Stefano in 10th, also on the same points as Lindberg. So very tight early on. It appears to be that there's 4 drivers just broken away from the field a little bit at the moment in terms of the championship, but as I said, it's very early stages. We've only had 1 round so far out of the possible, I believe, was it 12 rounds I think we got this time around.
Yeah, we got a bit more of an extended calendar this year. I do believe we're doing 12 rounds this season, so you know, more potential opportunities for the drivers to break away or close up to each other, and well, this is only the 2nd round. Yeah,
it really is. So very early stages like we just said, and we've got some fantastic tracks as well coming up this year. Of course, classics like Spa, Silverstone, Monza, but then a few different ones like Brno, which is always been a track for touring cars and the like, and Magny Cours, and even Imola to round out the season. That's going to be a good track to go to, one that F1 hasn't visited for a number of years now, but it still plays part to a number of international races from all over the world. So very good track to be on, and quite an exciting calendar to look forward to.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see how the rest of the season pans out. Got some great tracks, great cars, great racing, what's not like.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be fantastic all around. So we've got about half of the warm-up session left at the moment, and it appears that the rain has abated currently. It doesn't appear to be raining. The track is still very wet, so we're going to have to see how quickly this track dries. If it will dry during the warm-up session, in the remaining few minutes, and that'll be a good indicator as well for the drivers to see whereabouts they may be able to pit in the race if it is a wet dry race where there could be a crossover between the wet and the dry tyres.
Yeah, crossover period's going to be very interesting to see how it goes, and well, you know, when is the right time for wets, when is the right time for dries, I don't know, we'll probably find out during the race.
Yeah, sure, it's going to be interesting to watch out for then. I'm just having a look at some of the stuff in our archives. I just want to have a look at the previous standings for the Formula 3 season last year, just to see what kind of comparisons we can make for today.
Yes, just see really, you know, yeah, I mean these GP3 cars are quicker anyway, and well, certainly a lot easier to drive than last year's Mazzini, so it's a lot more, you know, user friendly in that regard. But don't get me wrong, these are still very quick cars. Yeah,
they certainly have, and I think all around they've received pretty much positive acclaim from the drivers, haven't they? I think everyone's been pretty pleased with these new GP3 cars. Definitely an improvement on last season.
Yeah, a lot of people I've been speaking, you know, hearing about definitely like these cars. You know, they say they're a big improvement on the Formula 3s. And, you know, just the fact that we got this massive grade we've got currently in the server, 31 people, that goes to show it, you know, it's high demand, this series.
Yeah, it certainly is. Yeah, it really is. Definitely picked up from the end of last season, where we just started to have slightly smaller grids, and one of the drivers that didn't compete for the whole of the season last season, of course, was Roy Schroten, and he only did about half of the season and managed to pick up, I believe his best finish was a second place last year, coming at, I think it was America. So to already have beaten that with a win last time out, and then to get a pole here as well, it appears that Roy perhaps has done a bit more homework and seems to have got on top of these cars early on in this season.
Yeah, he just seems to have gotten, you know, on top of the cars. Yeah, that's exactly. He's just understanding the physics of a car can be it's instrumental to how it, you know, understanding how a car works is instrumental to being good in it. Like, it's alright having a lot of talent, but if you don't know how the car works, you're not going to get the most out of it. But, you know, conversely, if you're maybe not the best driver in the world, but you still know how the car works, you can get a lot of time.
Yeah, that's a great description. I'd agree with just about everything you said there, Josh. It really is an interesting one to see what Roy can continue to do today, and whether he'll be good in the wet as well. That's really going to be another question. What that is, if we get a wet race, of course. I have no idea what the weather's going to be like. You can see, if you're looking at the pictures right now, that the track is definitely drying out in places, and I've noticed a few drivers have gone out there, quite a few actually, have gone out there on the dry tyres now, so it's dried fairly quick compared to what it was looking like 4 minutes ago.
Yeah, it has dried out a bit, but the question is if it starts raining again in the race, and that means obviously it's just going to get wetter again, so, you know, with this unpredictable weather, I don't know what's going to happen.
Certainly, it's going to be a tough one to call, but that's going to make it all the more exciting. So we go down then into the final minutes of warm-up, just to give you an idea of what's been happening. Daniel Brewer has set the fastest time of the warm-up session so far, 1:20.2. That's 4 tenths quicker than Jason Muscat. 15 drivers have set a time. The other 15 or 16 have decided to maybe just stay in the pits, only do a couple of laps and not actually set a representative lap time. But of course, lap times don't matter here. It's all about just getting out there, get a bit of a practice on before the next few minutes when we'll be switching over to the race.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's about, and well, interesting point actually raised by our cameraman Argo Teder. I've just noticed that we have a Jonathan Holmes in this race, and that's a name I've not heard for a while. Great to see him back in sim racing. Yeah,
of course, he's been out of R Factor and R Factor 2 for a while now. He's been elsewhere. I believe he's been doing the EWRC Championship competition. I believe that's what it's called. That's taken part throughout the whole of this year, and some other things as well. But he's back on R Factor. I believe he only just got the game again the other day on Steam as it is now, and well, he's come back and giving WCS a try, and we'll see how he gets on. I think he qualified in about midfield around 14th position, so we'll see what he's going to be like. I don't think Jonathan Holmes is replacing anyone that I'm aware of. I believe he's just kind of turned up. It looks as though he's driving for Meseric Racing though.
Yeah, that could be the case. I mean, obviously, you know, some teams still haven't submitted liveries, so we don't know for sure. But yeah, Holmes, they're going to be interesting quantity in this race for sure.
Yeah, he definitely is. And let's have a look. Have we got any other new drivers today that we can see?
Yeah, just looking up and down the field, I don't really see many new faces. I do see Michael Teichmann there, the team boss of TR Boss Motorsports there as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how Teichmann does. Obviously, you know, being a team owner, he's not necessarily a new face, but interesting to see him on the track, certainly. But apart from that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think Ryan Nash, that looks like maybe...
Yeah, could be as well.
Yep, a name we haven't seen. I believe he's driving for Satellite today. So, yeah, a couple new names, a couple new faces, and it looks like those guys are going to get a run out now onto the grid, because we're just sorting out all the positions, and then warm-up will switch over.
Disconnected. Connected. Channel switched.
Okay, so sorry about that. I think just a slight technical issue there, but I believe we're still back and we're still running along. I don't think you lost pictures. I think just lost sound for a second. So we are back and continuing on again. So yes, like I was saying, just come to the end of the wall now, and just waiting for a couple of seconds before we'll switch over to the race, and then everyone will get out there and we'll all get going. So just looking at the grid that's going to form up then, just to remind you, Roy Schroeten's on pole with Stefan Rott in second place. And that's going to be an engine run down to the first corner, and I was getting excited then. I thought we'd gone to the race and I thought I saw rain, but no, we just restarted warm up for the second time. So just hold on for a moment. We are going to get racing, but it looks like just sorting out a few things here or there with the grid.
I think it's got to be reset manually because there's been a problem with the usual system, so it might be a couple of minutes, but we'll be going racing, yeah.
Oh wow, that's certainly gonna be I would like to be the guy doing that job. That's gonna take quite a while, isn't it, to set in a whole grid of 31 cars all manually. So unfortunately someone's got to do the job, but at least I'll make sure that everyone is in the right position by the time that we do go to the race. That just gives the drivers a bit more time to get a bit more practice in. And again, raining really heavily here at the start of this warm-up session, temporary warm-up session you could call it, and it looks like a few drivers have actually gone out on slick tyres as well, so that's going to be real difficult for those guys to get around this track.
But if the on track is, so if the racing line is dry enough to use slicks, that's, you know, perfectly legitimate reason to use them, but they would have to stay off any wet patches because they're just aquaplane off otherwise. So, you know, in a situation, personally, I'd probably go for intermediates, and I think a couple of drivers have actually opted for that.
Yeah, it looks like I think a few of them that have gone out on the slicks now are starting to struggle. So just squirming around. I can see Niels Brugman there. I think Menno Klont has been around as well. Jason Muscat's actually coming around to complete his first lap and go on to a second lap already, and he's not looking too bad at the moment. We are slowly getting through this grid that's being formed up. Currently about halfway as Jason Muscat just goes wide at the first corner. That's showing how difficult it is right there, and just tried to get his foot down on the power. It hasn't really worked out, and yeah, a bit of a struggle for him, for Muscat as well. So definitely looking very difficult out there, and I think we're going to be in for some very cagey laps in the start of the race if the race is anything like this in terms of the weather.
Yeah, this is going to be a very edgy start of the race. Obviously very wet. I can't even see a dry line on the at any point of that track now. So, you know, I think really anyone who's on slicks is on the wrong call at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly not the tide to be on. Maybe it was for the first few seconds before the track really soaked in, but right now it's not looking good at all to be on the slick tyres. And I tried to think, Josh, I can't remember the last time we actually had a wet race.
Yeah, it's been, obviously we had some wet racing in the McCanns, obviously, you know, that was some interesting times in the rain, but I think this is the first time we're using the wet weather tyres in the GP3 series.
Yeah, it definitely is for the GP3 series. I was just trying to think back to last
I've just noticed as well we have Lars Brugman here, so that answers your question, Sam.
Oh, whoa, and I've just seen Ryan Nash go for a flip as well. Yes, oh, that's excellent. So Lars Brugman has made it, and it looks like the issue that we've had, we've set up the grid here, has actually just saved his day and allowed him to jump in, or that he'll be starting from the back of the grid. And I could see that it's going to be a bit of a difficult one for him, especially if he hasn't got much practice in up to now. He certainly probably wasn't expecting this kind of level of rain either, so if it's going to be a wet race, it's certainly going to be one to struggle with, as the drivers are really struggling out there right now.
Yeah, obviously, you know, with it being this wet, I imagine a lot of people struggle, so, you know, it's going to be an interesting start. For sure, I see everything get off the line, and, well, just, obviously, with it being wet, you know, the dry compound rule, then you have to use the primary option. That won't apply, obviously, if they use any wet compound.
No, it won't, so that'll be one of the rule blocks for the first time, won't it, if that happens today, but we'll have to wait and see what happens there with that. Yeah, I'm just noting it just seems to be getting worse and worse, this weather right now, and well, yeah, I wouldn't like to be out there at the moment. No one's set a lap time after 5 minutes of this warm-up so far, and I think we may just be about ready to get this race on the run and get it going.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it does go, obviously, with the rain in full effect, although it has seemed to ease off at the end of the towards the end of this warm session, though. You know, you never know what's going to happen in the race. And I think we're going.
Here we go then, we switch the race, and there it is, Josh. It's raining. It's raining quite heavily out there, so
just, you know, it does take about 30 seconds to normalise, so I think we'll have the actual answer whether it's going to rain or not in about 30 seconds time.
Okay, I won't get too excited then. I'll hold out for a few seconds longer and see what happens. Of course, the drivers are all to jump onto the grid and take their positions before we do one formation lap around the track. And quite a few drivers I've noticed have popped back into the garage and popped back out again. I think all just waiting and leaving it to the very last second to make their decision on what tyres are going to be running for this race here. At the moment, I couldn't see anything other than wet tyres. Could you, Josh?
It looks like wet's all around to me. I mean, there's people obviously taking their time and waiting, but yeah, I just see wet everywhere.
Yeah, it certainly looks that way. Most of the drivers are onto the grid right now. And yes, there we go. So they're all off and underway. I just had a bit of an issue there. But Roy Schroeter then, he leads the field away on this formation lap and he will be starting from pole position, of course, for Enterprise GP. For Racing Team Stroten. Stefan Ruart is second for Holland Racing Team, with Daniel Brewer, the first of the Enterprise GP cars. I got that right this time around. Lucky Hoekstra, our championship leader, is in fourth, with Tobias Olsen also up there, second in the championship. Right behind him in fifth, Chris Shepherd is in sixth, with row 4 being made up of Antonio Hirjanovic and Jason Muscat for Multiforce GP. Daniel Sharanko for Walters Automotive is in ninth, with Michael Teachman, TBR Blue Boss, in 10th. Jeffrey Fournier for Stax Racing then is lining up in 11th place, with Johan Lindberg in 12th. Jonathan Holmes then, on his debut here in WCS, is starting in 30th place for Meseric Racing, with Josh Downard and Wesley Stefano, the two MDR Motorsports cars, lining up in 14th and 15th. And rounding out the top half of the grid is Aidan Poulsen for Performance Racing.
Yep, 17th place is Sven De Vries for Positive Sim Racing, that number 29 car there. Then it is Gerrit De Vries, so De Vries is rounding out row 9 with Gerrit 18th for Holland Racing Team. Then it's Rink Hoekstra 19th in the CM Tech car. Then Ryan Ash 20th in the Satellite car, the number 64 there. Jacob Peggy's teammate follows in the number 4 entry in 21st. Chris Kinsman is then 22nd in the number 5 car there. Then it's Joe Watts in 23rd. And Casper Brandwein in 24th is for Performance Racing. Then O'Clock's 25th for TR Blue Boss Motorsports. Then it's Niels Voss in 26th place. And Rob Mason 27th place in the Stax car. Then 28th place is Marco van der Brink. Then it's Eric Stanford in 29th, followed by Lars Bruggen in 30th place in the Positive Sim Racing car, the number 23 there. And Richard Brooks 31st, rounding out the grid.
Brilliant stuff then. And just in time as well, as the cars and drivers are all making their way round the final corner and heading onto the pit straight.
And I don't know if there's a graphical issue for me. It looks like Roy Schroten's on slicks.
Let me have a look at that one. Yeah, I've got the same. I've got exactly the same one, Josh. I've got Ruart on Inters.
Yeah, there's a couple of cars on Inters.
And then Brewer on wet. So that's interesting. Surely Schroten hasn't gone for slicks, has he? I'm
It's
looking
probably
for
not the right call if he has.
I am looking through the rest of the field, and he's the only guy I can see that's on slick tyres right now.
Yeah,
so
Mason just lining up.
we're going to find out, aren't we, what's going to happen? Who's your driver to go for then?
Oh, I've got no idea.
Alright, let's see what happens then. The lights are coming on and they've got out. Here we go then in the rain at the Red Bull Ring, and it looks like it's a bit of a cautious start by all drivers, but Stefan Ruart's got the best lead from second place, and he goes into turn 1 in first place. Roy Schroten's lots in behind him with Daniel Brewer in third, and Hirjanovic in fourth place. They're quite spread out further up, and it's a bit more. Whoa, there's a few cars going off at the turn 1. I think Holmes has gone off Fournier. There's a few more as well, all kind of going off, and it really is a struggle for a lot of them out there. And oh, Ruart's gone wide in turn 2, and that means that Roy Schroten's tried to take the lead, but he's lost it as well. Oh, he just about holds on there. Just about holds on to it, but he's dropping down the order now. Hirjanovic just passed him for third, and Hoekstra is going to get past him for fourth as well. So near miss for Schroten, but a position's lost after just getting onto the power a bit too heavily coming out of turn 2 there. So that means that Ruart does lead at the moment. Brewer is in second place, second behind, and now Hoekstra is trying to go up the inside of Hirjanovic here. It's this left-hander. They're side by side through the corner, but Hirjanovic just has to back out, and that means that Hoekstra is able to take the position away. So a strong start there for Hoekstra to move up into third place, but already 3 seconds behind the leader. It's been a good start for both Ruart and Brewer here so far, but Schroten certainly struggling right now because Michael Teachman is having a look up the inside, but not quite close enough to be able to make the move into the ultimate corner as we come around and complete lap 1.
Yeah, Schroten cannot be on the right. Oh dear, problems with him as he's Hirjanovic has gone round, and Schroten there involved too. So I was about to say 6 can't be the right choice for Schroten here as Antonio Hirjanovic came around the final corner and he just lost it on his own, and Schroten hit him. Couldn't do anything about that, could Roy?
Yeah, it's a bit topsy-turvy now that everyone is kind of moving around all over the place. I think there's been a few more cars. I think Daniel Sharanko has gone round at the final couple of corners, final corner as well. That means that De Vries has moved up into 5th. Daniel Brewer's all the way down in 6th place right now. That means Hoekstra has also moved up into 2nd as well. As Ruot continues to lead it. Aidan Poulsen has found his way all the way up into 3rd from 17th on the grid. So Poulsen has done something right so far. He's looking very strong in the wet.
Yeah, he's on those wet tyres and they're giving them the grip that he needs. He's giving them, you know, the displacement of water, just the enough grip. And, well, compared to Shorten behind, who seems to be on the slicks at least, it's at least a better tyre choice. As, Argo Teder says there's havoc going on at the back. I don't know what's happening there. Evidently something going on.
Yeah, it's looking like carnage all over the place. We've already got 3 retirements. Lindbergh, Klont and Ryan Nash have all retired. And I think a few others are struggling near the back as well. I've seen Jason Muscat go around without a rear wing. So a lot has been happening so far.
Hang on. Muscat, what actually happened to Jason Muscat there? Because he was listed as being 20... I don't know what happened with Muscat, but wherever he was, something happened to him. Oh, he actually, yeah, he had no rear wing. And he had no rear wing because he'd lost it trying to rejoin the track. He was clipped by by Blas Brugman of all people, and then he lost it on the straight again. Then he was hit from behind. This is not going well.
It's not, is it? And Roy Schroten has taken to the pits, and he has pitted in. I guess that's to get rid of his soft tyres right now. Clearly, the rain is just too heavy.
Stefano ran at the final turn, as is Brewer.
Yeah, we've got quite a few drivers around, haven't we? A couple more pitting as well, and I think Pulse has had a bit of an issue because he's dropped back into 4th, and Hoekstra's actually taken the lead here from Stefan Roth. They're side by side actually, going down towards turn 3, and it looks like Roth's just going to get it back off him in straight line speed. So he headed to the braking, so it's a real close battle here for the lead right now. Roth just about holding on, and he must have made a mistake if Hoekstra has closed that 3.5 second gap over the previous lap.
Yeah, interesting to see. Oh, actually, Jeffrey Varney actually using the in-game chat. That's usually not very advisable. He's, I think he's saying that Wesley Stefano, he should let him through again, but Stefano doesn't actually seem to be doing anything of that, and Brewer wants to on Fournier here.
Yep, it's looking like Fournier's under a bit of trouble, isn't he? And oh, look at that! There we go. Mason's gone wide. In fact, Brewer's gone wide. Fournier's gone wide as well. Oh, was that Stefano? Stefano, wasn't it? Sorry, going wide.
Yeah, Brewer went in 11. He got 2 places done through there, and Stefano's dropped 3. Sharangu chasing Brewer now. So lots of action going on at the back, and oh, look at get it to Freeze round as well from 8. That was close between the 2 positive cars there.
Yeah, it's real close. He's just getting back onto the track now, but that means De Vries has dropped back into 10th place, and it's looking quite a good battle here. Lars Brugman already up into 6th place from the back of the grid, so he's looking mighty strong right now. He's got De Vries behind him, and Jonathan Holmes as well down the pit straight there.
Yeah, it's gonna be. If this is just the first 3 laps as well. We've already had loads of people spending out. Obviously, you know, we thought it was going to be difficult conditions, but not this difficult. Though I do believe the actual rainfall has no, it hasn't actually lightened up any. I thought it had, but it hasn't.
No, it's still looking pretty horrific out there, isn't it? Very strong indeed. Daniel Brewer has taken to the pits, so he must have had some damage from a clash early in the lap. Something was going on there, but Rennick Hoekstra was getting out of the way but Wupke Hoekstra, so the second of the Hoekstras has already been lapped after the first couple of laps of the race, and the top 2 then are separated by 2 seconds, and it's a full 11 seconds back to 3rd place Tobias Olsen right now. That's how far away the 2 leaders are currently. Aidan Poulsen has ended up in 4th place after all that, nearly 19 seconds off the lead as well, and Janovic has managed to get into 5th place after losing a bit of time earlier on as well. So it's all started to settle down at the front, but certainly not further back. Rob Mason, I think he's had an issue coming out of turn 3, and he's just dropped a few positions as well, back into 12th place behind Jeffrey Fournier.
Yeah, so dropping behind his teammate there is Mason. Now he's under threat from Wesley Stefano and Roy Schroten as well. So, you know, this is going to be... Oh, we got a car off as well. I think that's actually Daniel Sharangu who's going... Yeah, it has. Sharangu's gone off as well in the Wouters car there. Stefano then moved up to 11th, who's now going to attack Mason, but he's not going to have the leverage. This is incredibly wet.
It really is. I wouldn't like to be any of these drivers right now. It looks terrible out there. It really is quite a struggle. I think. Oh, Sharanko! I thought he was gonna have contact with Teachman, and Ruart's having to get through a few more back marks as well. It looks like that's Richard Brooks he's getting past, who's down in 23rd place. So only 22 cars on the lead lap already. That's either due to retirements or cars getting laps after having issues. And Sharanko is taken to the pits as well right now. So more drivers having to pit in for damage.
Well, the amount of rain seems to be coming down, going to about 60%. But you know, the wetness of the track's what's crucial here, because it's at the absolute minimum, it's 41% wet, and at the maximum, it's 99%. So offline, and it's absolutely a flood, and online, it's pretty wet as well. So the rain seems to be coming down very rapidly now. Yeah,
it looked like it was brightening up in places a little bit, but it certainly hasn't abated as the rain. As I think, that was Jason Muscat going around there. Ahead of Lars Brugman, who's just got past Jonathan Holmes through turn 3 as well. So Muscat definitely struggling after that early incident. And Tobias Olsen is in now. He's another driver to pit, and he's on the wets at the moment. I don't think he's got any damage. So is he changing tyres?
Right, possibly, yeah, he's going on the jacks, he's going to the Inters.
Interesting stuff in here. Are the Inters the tyres to be on? Are they that much faster that it's worth making a pit stop right now? That's
They won't displace water as well offline. I think with the 99% offline and being 40 on, I think still it's probably best to be on the full wets.
Yeah.
That said, I was about to say that said, Stefan Rules on the Inters, but he's just gone off.
He has gone off, hasn't he, at turn 3, and he's having to take the escape road around outside the gravel trap, and he's actually lost the lead. Then Rutger Hoekstra takes the lead from Ruart after that mistake. It's turn 3, and he's got the pace, but just to snatch the brakes there, it looked like going into the corner. That's cost him dearly. That's a good chunk of time that he's lost, and track position as well.
Yeah, quite significant position lost then, obviously, you know, from Ruart. He's lost time to Hoekstra the lead. Paulson will be starting to close in if he doesn't get his skates on. But the rain is really slowing down now. I've seen 16% actually. Really lightened up, and I can see blue sky, so now we're going to get an interesting race. Maybe in the long run the Inters are good, but for now at least maybe it's full wet, so even the online wetness is coming down. It's down to 30%.
Yeah, it's dropped quite rapidly, hasn't it?
Tyres are obviously doing their job then.
They really are. They're throwing that water all over the place and getting rid of it quite efficiently indeed if the level has dropped to that amount already. So perhaps Olsen has done the right thing. I think, who was that? I think that was Rennick Hoekstra in the middle of the track near the end of the circuit, and while he just managed to keep it out of everyone's way, luckily enough, as Jonathan Holmes goes off at the penultimate corner, comes back on in front of Heljanovic there, but fortunately no positions lost for him, although he's switching to the inside of the track and now cutting right back in front of Heljanovic, who dives off his inside then into turn 1 and takes that position away as Lars Brugman is into the pits.
Yeah, Brugman, and he's on the win, as I think he realises the track's drying out very quickly, so he's in, as is Sven de Vries on the intermediate tyre. Oh, Sven actually spins in the pit lane, but I assume he'll be going onto the Inters when he does pit. But yeah, Brugman in deciding now is the time, and Sven de Vries' teammate right behind him, probably going to go on the same tyres if anything is to go by, as Sven pulls in, yep, onto the Inters.
Yeah, we go there. Sven de Vries switches his tyres over, and that's going to be interesting to see what he can do, as I think we've got an issue with Jeffrey Fortier here. I think he may have some technical issues, has he? I can't see him right now.
Hoekstra from the lead.
Yes, he is. Hoekstra then has pitted, and it looks like he's going to get rid of his wet tyre. So I wonder if Ruart's really going to benefit here, because he was on the Inters, of course, and it doesn't mean he has to change them. He might have worn them down a little bit, of course, because he's already done 7 laps on his Inters. But oh, look at that! Hoekstra's gone straight onto the soft tyres.
Oh, now that's because the track's drying out so much. It's 14% online. I think he thinks he can stay on the line, but it's 97% off. If he goes off, he's going to get so much aquaplaning in.
He certainly is. This is a risky strategy, and especially in the pit lane, it's going to be really wet in there, isn't it? As he peels back out onto the racetrack. So we're going to have to watch out for Hoekstra, see how he manages to handle these soft tyres, especially heading up towards turn 2. this is where it could all go completely wrong for him. If he makes any mistake, he has to keep onto that dry line like it's a train track or something, and he does very nicely through the apex of turn 2 there. So as long as he can keep doing that, he could be okay, but this is a very tight rope he's walking right now.
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, if he goes off that dry line, then he is going to get absolute aquaplaning going on. I mean, it's so well off that line that it's basically, you know, it's guaranteed that you will go off because there will just be no grip. But, you know, it's going to be interesting lapping people as well. How is he going to get through? He's going to have to go on the wet part of the circuit.
Yeah, he is. He's going to have to really pick his places. Luckily,
over there.
Yep, that was very well done by Watts, and Hoekstra, I'm sure he's very pleased about that right now. There's a few more guys pits as well. Brewer, Teachman is also in, so quite a few of these guys switching their tyres, and it looks like a few of them are also going onto the dry tyres right now.
Yeah, obviously thinking, you know, it's dry, so why not risk it? But, you know, you got Jonathan Olsen still on 4 wets, as is Schroten, as is DeVries, as is a couple of cars behind them. So, you know, with Mason on the full slicks now, as is Solanovic, both Enterprise cars going for that. But interesting stuff, yeah. Maybe Rualt's got this right on the inters.
Yeah, I think he has, and I think maybe some of these drivers that are staying out just a little bit longer will benefit as well, because I think the few of them that switched over to inters early on, maybe that's not going to be the right choice if they're going to have to switch over to softs, as Holmes now pits. So we'll have to see whether he goes onto the inters or if he goes straight onto the soft tyres, as a few others around him have done recently.
Yeah, I mean...
Oh, he's missed his box.
Oh no, Jonathan Holmes, oh man. That's not what you want to do. But he's in now, he's on the slicks.
He is, he's gone straight onto the slicks, and Lars Brugman has pitted for the second time here, and he's onto the slicks as well, so he didn't stay on his inters very long. He got rid of them fairly quickly indeed. Whoa, I think someone's just speared off the background there, someone getting lapped. I believe that was Rob Mason there coming out of the final corner, but I think he's okay.
Yeah, it should be alright. I mean, hopefully he hasn't taken any damage, but he should be fine there. As, you know, he's managed to get back on the track, which is the main thing. Is about a third of the way through the race now, Sam.
Yeah, it's flown by already, hasn't it? It really has, but that's with all the action that's been going on. We've now got Aidan Poulsen pitting in with Jacob Pegg as well, who's currently a lap down. Only 10 cars on the lead lap at the moment. That's incredible stuff right now, but I think a few more will get back on once Rualtz does eventually pit in for soft tyres, which he'll have to do eventually because the track has dried so quickly.
Yeah, eventually, you know, the track obviously drying out so much that, you know, maybe if the dry line thickens it up, it's pretty much slip times. As apparently Wupke Hoekstra is quite a bit faster than Stefan Rualtz at the moment. Rualt's last time is at 27, Hoekstra's at 22. So if you can stay on that line, then it's definitely the tyres to be on the slicks, but you go off and you've got catastrophe. But I think for the benefits, it's probably worth it now.
Yeah, it's looking that way, isn't it? Hoekstra's got his tyres up to temperature, and that dry line is definitely widened, and it's certainly helping him out. Is Rualtz got a pit? No, he doesn't. Stefan Rualtz here is continuing on with this strategy of staying on the intermediate tyres. He must feel that I don't know, he must feel that it's the right one for him. He's sort of 25 flat then, but I think Hoekstra's surely going to destroy that lap time when he comes around to cross the line. Now here he comes. Let's see what lap time he manages to do, and it's a 20.9. That's 4.1 seconds quicker over one lap. That's mega.
He's the speed, he's attacking the corners, but he's on that dry line, he's banded to it like glue. He's going to take the time down on Rualtz, and Stefan will be able to do nothing about it. But again, Wupke, how's he going to get past? He's going to have to stay on the dry line.
He is, he absolutely is.
Oh, you see, there he goes off there, now he's got no grip. But, you know, he's recovered quite well, so I think the benefit, you know, really helping Hoekstra now.
It definitely is. He would have lost a few seconds there, but that's nothing compared to what he's been gaining over the last few laps. And I think when Rualtz pits, he's definitely going to lose this lead. There's Poulsen in third. He's also on the soft tyres as well. So most of these drivers have switched over. Roy Schroten is still on the full wets. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I think at this point, slicks are the real option.
Yeah, they really are, aren't they? I agree with that one wholeheartedly and completely right now. I'm surprised Rualtz left it so long. He is finally pitting then. He's coming into the pits, but I think it's all a little bit too late for him. He won't be coming back out in first, that's for sure. Hoekstra is definitely going to go past, as he was only 15 seconds behind. He's already going across the start-finish line now. And Ruot's just coming out of his pit box. So that's a huge chunk of time that he's lost there. He's really going to have to... Well, he's going to struggle to make that up.
He's on the harder of the compounds there. He's now going to try and do 20 laps, I believe, on these. Well, as he hasn't used the as he doesn't have to use both compounds, but maybe he's just trying to go till the end now. Yeah,
that could be his only strategy to try and win this race, maybe, because he's so far behind Hoekstra. I think once we get an update on the times, we'll see what that is, but I won't be surprised if it's getting on towards 10 seconds, such was the amount of time that he lost just by staying out a few laps longer on the much slower intermediate tyres.
Yeah, that might have just put Ruot on the back foot even more than he was before. He's about a quarter of the light time. He's 9 seconds behind now. So on those tyres, which are going to warm up, you know, Hoekstra's going to have a real advantage.
Yeah, he really is. He's going to have an advantage at the moment. We'll see how long those soft tyres can last for in these conditions. Again, that's going to be a bit of an unknown, isn't it? So not really sure what that one's going to be like, as Aidan Poulsen just gets past a little bit of lapped traffic there. He's all by himself at the moment in third place, looking pretty strong though, after where he qualified as well.
Yeah, looking pretty strong at the moment. You know, not really anything to worry about, I guess, from, you know, that big gain that he's made.
Yep, as Lars Brugman just made a mistake going into turn 2, just missed his braking a little bit, got onto the wet part of the track and cost him a bit of time there, but fortunately for him, no real dramas, just a few seconds lost.
Yeah, only a couple of seconds lost, I guess. You know, that's better than drama, because you don't want that. You don't want to, like, suddenly find yourself spinning off. You'd rather just go wide and lose a couple of seconds. Because, well, I'm just looking at Aidan Poulsen, who's having a great job on those 6 as well. He's in 3rd at the moment. This would be great for the Scotsman if he can get it. He's just trying to cut down the gap to Ruot at the moment, I guess, is his main priority. Just try and catch up to Stefan. Yeah,
he's on the quicker tyre, isn't he? So he should be able to carve into Ruot's time a little bit while his tyres are lasting. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. It is a bit of a big gap at the moment though, so we'll have to wait to see what that is going to be. Just to give you an idea of where everyone else is then. Tobias Olsen is in 3rd place and he's 39 seconds off the lead. Antonio Janovic is in 5th place, 52.5 seconds off the lead, and just a couple of seconds behind him in 6th is Jonathan Holmes. Then we've got Roy Schroten 5 seconds further down the road in 7th place right now, with Lars Brugman pretty much on his tail, only a second behind. So hunting Schroten down right now in 8th place. Daniel Brewer is in 9th, about a minute, at least a minute off the lead, minute and 6 seconds as a matter of fact, with Michael Teachman in 10th place, and he's actually the final driver on the lead lap right now, would you believe, because Rob Mason in 11th, I believe he's a 1 lap down. Yes, he is, just behind your race leader Woutke Hoekstra on the track, been lapped of course. So yeah, this is really strung out the field a little bit so far, but of course there's still a good 18 laps to go in this race. We're not even half distance yet, but it certainly has been a very eventful first half of the race, and unfortunately it's forced us to lose a few drivers. We've lost 5 drivers so far: Jeffrey Fournier, Wesley Stefano, Johan Lindberg, Menno Klont and Ryan Nash, who didn't even complete the first lap, have all retired currently. So that's not too bad considering how bad the conditions were at the start of the race and how difficult it looked to drive. But right now, looking at the leaders, I'd say that the closest battle on track in the top 10 is Roy Schroten and Lars Brugman, and they're only a second apart from each other, passing out the 7th place. But Schroten just can't quite get close enough. Oh no, look at that, Roy Schroten's made a mistake down at turn 3. He's just gone wide on the exit of turn 3 and got onto the gravel a little bit, and that's just cost him momentum, and that means that Lars Brugman then has taken the position and he moves up into 7th place right now, about 5 seconds behind Jonathan Holmes further ahead. Roy Stroton just have to sort himself out and try and recover from that, because Daniel Brewer is only a little bit further behind it. We just had a switch of position as well for 5th. Jonathan Holmes has just overtaken Antonio Heljanovic, and I think that's because Heljanovic has made a mistake coming through the final corner, and that means that as a matter of fact Lars Brugman is onto his tail already, going through turn 1 and putting him under a bit of pressure up the hill towards turn 2. A bit too far away to make a move right now, but certainly within striking distance, and we'll be waiting for Janovic to make a mistake as well, which he's done exactly that. He's broken, he's locked his brakes, he's missed his braking point into turn 2 there, and that means that he has lost yet another position, and Lars Brugman moves up into 6th. Janovic back down to 7th place. And while all that was going on, Sven de Vries has actually just unlapped himself here from Wutke Hoekstra, who's quite a bit further back from him as well. So I'm just wondering here whether Hoekstra's had a bit of an issue or not. We'll see what happens when they come through the first split. Stefan Ruot was about 10 seconds behind before that, and they come down now to turn 3, and no, Ruot's only gained about a second, so that's not much really. It just looks like that Sven de Vries is doing some very quick lap times right now. Hoekstra did have an issue actually on the previous lap. He did a 1:26. That was about 7 seconds slower than what he has been doing. But at the same time, Ruot also did a 1:21, a 1:26 as well, I should say. So both drivers just struggling a little bit there, and that means that Adam Poulsen managed to claw back about 5 seconds on both of them. But still another 24 seconds separating Poulsen and the leader. And Hoekstra, I think, has had another issue here, because all of a sudden the gap is now down to 5 seconds throughout behind Hoekstra. So another scruffy lap, and it looks like he's just struggling to keep the consistency in the car right now, and definitely losing lap time over Ruot. Looked a bit difficult going through turn 2 there for Hoekstra as well, so just struggling on these tyres and these brakes a little bit in these drying conditions. Of course, there's still a dry line forming, and very much a big patch of the track that has quite high levels of wetness to it, so you don't want to be getting on any of that part of the track on these completely slick tyres, because that's just going to spin the car off in the wrong direction. And over the course of this lap so far, the gap between the leads has come down again. It's now 3.8 seconds Hoekstra to Ruot, so it continues to close, and I'll just go back up again actually. So it appears as though both drivers here just having a few issues keeping consistent right now, and that does mean that Adam Poulsen is constantly closing the gap as well. He's got the gap down to 15 seconds between himself and Ruot in 2nd place, so just doing a solid job there for Poulsen. Further back, Jonathan Holmes has now dropped behind Lars Brugman, so 5th to 6th has swapped around, and that means that Holmes loses the position as who's that? Oh, someone's going around there. I think that was Richard Brooks, and nearly caught out Holmes coming through the turns 6 and 7, but just gets away with it. But that does mean that Daniel Brewer is on Holmes' tail right now. There's another car in the middle of the track, and this time around, who was that? That was Lars Brugman, who's gone around at the final corner. So he drops out of 5th place there, and he gets back going again in 8th right now, but a lot of time lost for Brugman, so some difficulties there for him, but he'll just have to try and collect his thoughts and just get back going. But meanwhile, Brewer then looks to the inside of Holmes up the hill towards turn 2, and very close, nearly wheels still right there between them, but Brewer just gets through on the inside, takes 5th place away. So good run at the moment for Daniel Brewer, just picking up the positions right now. He's back into 6th, and Roy Schrader's not too far behind either. Just get a bit loose there coming through turn 3, but yeah, he's not too far behind Holmes as well, so we could have a battle brewing there in the not too distant future. Right now, Lucky Hoekstra has just extended his lead about 4 seconds. It's just reeled in a half a second there in the last sector. It seems to be yo-yoing between the two drivers at the moment as the lap times. It really does seem to be a bit of a difficult one to find absolute consistency right now. That dry line is still fairly fine on the track. It does seem to be growing a bit, but like I was saying, a lot of wetness still out there to happen to combat as Hoekstra just gets past Richard Brooks through the final couple of corners. A bit tight there for him, a little bit hairy, but he gets the job done anyway and crosses the line, and we're going on to lap 20 now, so lap times are certainly starting to click away. We've only got 11 laps left, about 2/3 of the way through the race distance right now, and it appears as though Aidan Poulsen is starting to be caught by Tobias Olsen a little bit. Olsen's been putting in some very solid lap times in the sub 120s, whereas Poulsen is in the 20s and 21s, so maybe just struggling for outright pace on these sub tyres, but Olsen looking like he's going to try and get yet another podium if he can. He would continue his run of podiums that he's had so far, following Austria, where he picked up 3rd and 2nd place. Oh, as Jonathan Holmes has just gone round at the final turn there, just on the outside of the track and having to get back going. Hopefully, oh no, he's just hit Rennick Hoekstra, and that's caused Hoekstra to go spearing and spinning down the straight. Of course, he's in last at the moment in 25th place, but that certainly won't have helped him. He's just gone rolling down the pit straight, managed to get the car back going, but just got caught out there when Holmes rejoined the racetrack. A very difficult place, dangerous place to do it, and that's cost Holmes as well. He's now back down in 10th place after running in 6th. He's lost a good 20 seconds or so, so really damaging spin right there for Jonathan Holmes, and he'll be kicking himself with that one. He's got suspended grease all over the back of him now for 10th place. We'll just see if there's any change here down into turn 3, because De Vries is having a look up the inside but just not quite close enough, and has to slot back in behind Holmes, but certainly all over his gearbox and aiming to get in back into the top 10. As he head through second half of the track, De Vries still right behind Holmes, and really they're all over the back of him, looking every which way. Definitely looks the quicker of the two drivers right now, but all these fast corners at the final sector, in the final sector of the track, are really not places that you can overtake on at all, and that just means that De Vries has to slot back in behind Holmes right now and wait a little bit longer before he can make a move. Just gets onto the sausage curves as well, coming out of turn 1. That won't have helped him, and he's actually being challenged here by Daniel Sharanku. Sharanku's actually another lap down on these guys. He's not really racing them, but well, getting involved in. Oh, Holmes has just made a mistake there. Oh, and so Sharanku as well, and they've had a coming together through turn 2, and yeah, Holmes just missed his braking spot there, and that was kind of compounded as well when Sharanku missed his. And, they had a bit of a coming together, and Sharanku's racing Holmes here, and hitting there wheel to wheel. I'm not quite sure why Sharanku's doing this, because he is a lap down right now, and probably shouldn't really be getting involved with a guy who's a lap ahead of him. You can lap yourself, but you don't need to literally try and hit the guy off the racetrack. So bit of an odd one there, but they both live to fight another day. Further back up at the front then, and the gap has come down once again. It's only 2 seconds between Hoekstra and Ruwelts right now, as I think Michael Teachman has just popped into the pits from 7th place, as has De Vries. Oh, Teachman's missed his pit box here, completely overshot it by a good car's length at least. So that's a disaster for him. He comes back out onto the track. De Vries right behind him as well, who's just made a pit stop. So both these drivers taking soft tyres, and I suppose their softs might have been going off here, so they've taken a fresh set, and that should get them through to the end of the race, as we are now on to lap 22, well lap 23 I should say, for the leaders right now, of course, because a few more guys I think have been lapped. So we've now only got 9 drivers on the lead lap, and it looks like Jonathan Holmes is going to get lapped from by Wupke Hoekstra as well, so make that 8 drivers only on the lead lap, and it continues to tumble here as Hoekstra continues to lead as well. Ruart's just dropped about half a second back, but still there or thereabouts, keeping Hoekstra honest. It's not over by any means between these two. And all it needs to take is one small mistake by Hoekstra, and that will allow Ruart in, as Antonio Hojanovic then pits from 8th place. He's coming in now to change his tyres. And again, another driver that's missed his pit box here. It must be quite slippery in the pit lane, because Hojanovic there has to just reverse back a little bit, and that will have cost him quite a bit of time, and he drops back to 11th so far. Probably 12th actually, yeah it will be, because Gerrit De Vries has just blown by as well down the pit straight. Now Janovic will come back out in 12th. Decent amount of time ahead. Jason Muscat, who recovered nicely actually after his issues at the start of the race. He finds himself in 13th. So right now it looks like we've got a bit of battle on the track, because Olsen and Poulsen are both together, and I think Tobias Olsen has just got past Poulsen here. It's going to get confusing with these two names, but that does mean that Tobias Olsen has moved up into 3rd place. Right now he's trying to get past Hiljanovic, who of course has been lapped and is in 12th, but he's on fresher tyres, so I don't think Hiljanovic would want to be getting out of the way, and it does in fact look like he's started to pull away from Olsen right now. Of course Olsen will just need to keep this gap going between himself and Aidan Poulsen behind him. He doesn't want to lose more time. Let Poulsen get back in and have another go, as look at that, Olsen's gone onto the wet part of the pit straight there. Cool his tyres, he's cooling his slick tyres down. That's a new one on me. I've not seen that one before, but well, if he thinks it helps him, he'll give it a go. Just needs to make sure he doesn't bin the car on the wet stuff, so you'll just have to be ultra careful when doing that. Wupke Hoekstra then still leading on lap 25. He's led the race ever since about lap 11, when of course Stefan Ruart took to the pits, and after losing so much time on the intermediates, Ruart came out about 10 seconds behind Hoekstra. That gap has really come down, mainly due to mistakes more than anything. Both drivers have made a few minor errors whilst the track was still very, very wet offline, but it has allowed Ruart to catch back up with Hoekstra. But ever since the gap came down to about 2 seconds, it stayed between that and 3 seconds, so between 2 and 3 seconds for the majority, so not looking too bad right now for Hoekstra if he can keep this level of consistency up. And Ruart just have to keep pushing to keep him honest right here, as further back Olsen is having to battle with quite a bit of lap traffic right now. This is not what he needs when he's trying to keep a hold of 3rd place in the race. Just getting past Joe Watts there into turn 2. and still following Heljanovic, and Heljanovic looks like he's continuing to pull away. I don't think there's any indication that he's going to be caught by Olsen unless he makes a mistake, of course. There's another drive that went round there. Who was that? No idea. I believe that was Chris Kinsman, actually. Yeah, of course, Chris Kinsman in the Intrepid Auto Sport car. Beautifully yellow coloured looking car. I think from the side view it looks like last year's Renault, and from the front it looks like the old Jordan back in the late 90s and early 2000s. Very nice looking paint scheme on that car, as many of these cars do actually. Some very nice looking cars this year, I must admit. I do like the CM Tech Racing livery as well. Both the Hoekstras are driving in, and of course the Performance Racing purple car that Aidan Poulsen is sporting today also. That's very nice indeed. So definitely some good paint schemes out there to look out for. Of course, Racing Team Schroeter as well, they have their paint scheme now after it wasn't there for Australia, but they've got it now, and it's looking very good indeed with that red and yellow splashed all over the car. Very nice looking car. So we're on to lap 27 then, 31. 7 cars on the lead lap, and that's his Hoekstra and Rualt, only 3 seconds apart. Then Olsen and Poulsen in third and fourth, also 3 seconds apart. Then quite a bit further back, about 20 seconds down the road, is Daniel Brewer in fifth. Roy Stroeten is another 18 seconds down the road. 6 seconds behind him is Lars Brugman, and he is the final driver on the lead lap at the moment. And he's only just ahead of Hoekstra as well, so could fall victim losing a lap if he's not too careful. And he wouldn't want to do that because De Vries, his teammate of course, is just a little bit further down the road behind Hoekstra in 8th place. So at the moment Hoekstra's just keeping the 2 drivers apart, but positive sim racing of course. So, all of a sudden, looking at this, I think Stefan Ruart's made a mistake here, because he finds himself 7.5 seconds behind Woutke Hoekstra. And yeah, he's just had a bit of a scruffy lap for 1:23. So dropped to about 5 seconds there for Hoekstra, and he won't be too pleased with that, will Ruart, but he'll continue on the way nonetheless. And he's still in with a chance of the win, of course, but the laps are ticking down, and Hoekstra just needs to be consistent now and bring the car home, and he'll have the job done. He's done well as well if you think about it. He's been out on these soft tyres now for getting on towards 20 laps here. Pitted back on lap 8, so yeah, he's done about 20 laps on these tyres, and considering they're the tyres that should not last as long as the hard compound that Ruart's on, he's done a pretty good job on these, and still pumping in very competitive lap times as well. So got good tyre life here. Maybe it's due to the conditions of the track, I don't know, or maybe it is just the track itself that the tyres can last for a relatively long period of time, and maybe that'll be a factor when it comes to race 2 as well. We'll have to wait to see. Of course, we've got no idea what the weather will be like in race 2. We could have more rain, or we could have a wet dry race or a dry race, so I'll definitely keep posted for that one, as Stefan Ruart right now has just been overtaken there, not for position, but Josh Downard just unlapping himself from Ruart, and it looks like he's got quite a bit of pace, Downard, so he must have just pitted for some new soft tyres, because he's certainly bombing around the track pretty quickly, even though he is 2 laps down from the leader. Now we just had a change of position as well. Michael Teachman has got past Sven de Vries, the 8th place then. He's had a switch between the two drivers, and of course Teachman pitted not too long ago, took some new soft tyres on, but so did Sven de Vries as well, so good effort by Teachman so far. These two drivers actually came out of the pits at about the same time after that second stop, so they've been keeping each other company for the second half of this race, and Teachman has just got past de Vries there. So good little tussle between the two, and it might not be over yet either, because de Vries is keeping Teachman honest, and looking pretty exciting. Probably the closest battle I'd say that we've got on track right now, at least for the top few positions anyway. As Wupke Hoekstra then has actually started his final lap of the race, and he starts it with a 9.5 second lead over Stefan Rualt. So really good job by Hoekstra right now, been impressive indeed through the majority of this race. Just kept his head clear, kept it cool when it was raining very heavily early on, and got the jump on Rualt by pitting early onto the soft tyres just at the right time as well. It looked like it might have been a bit too early, but it worked out perfectly for him, and he set some super quick lap time. So whether it's a bit of luck or he's just done his homework, a good effort by Hoekstra, and already deserving not only in pace but also in strategy as well. It's clever thinking there to pit when he did, and that just means then as he comes round the final couple of corners and just gets into a bit of a confrontation there with Richard Brooks, but manages to get away with it. I thought he was going to go around there, but held on. There we go. There, Wupke Hoekstra crosses the line after nearly 44 minutes to take the win here in the Austrian GP Race 1, the GP3 WCS Championship. Stefan Rualt then is in second place, 9.5 seconds back, but great result for Hoekstra then to win the race from Rualt. Great drive from both the drivers there. Fantastic results all round, and Tobias Olsen then continues his strong start to the season by picking up yet another podium here. His third podium out of 3 races. Great job by Tobias Olsen, keeping Hoekstra honest at the early stages of this championship as well. Daniel Brewer then is going to come across the start-finish line behind a gaggle of lap cars, but it won't bother him now because he crosses the line, takes 4th place, and Aidan Poulsen, another good effort by him from where he started down in 17th on the grid as well to pick up 5th. Fantastic job. Your pole sitter then, Roy Schroten, the soft tyre gamble at the start didn't pay off at all for him unfortunately, but still did a fantastic job to finish 6th nonetheless after having to make of course an extra pit stop at the start of the race. And Lars Brookman is the final driver on the lead lap. Amazingly enough, only 7 drivers on the lead lap. Crosses the line then, and he was the last driver across the line. Michael Teachman then in 8th place, Sven de Vries in 9th. Jonathan Holmes rounds out the top 10 with Heljanovic, Muscat, Garrett de Vries, Rob Mason, and Daniel Sharanku. That is the drivers in the top 15. So that's it for race 1, and a fantastic race it was as well. Those first 10 laps were pretty much a blur with everything that was going on. There was a lot of incidents at the back, drivers spinning around under treacherous conditions, and no surprises there because it really was very difficult indeed. Then we had the pit stops coming early around lap 10 and 11, and a bit earlier for some drivers as well. So drivers took to the softer tyres, or the drier tyres I should say, the slicks, as the track dried out. But from there on it was all about Wupke Hoekstra, and he did a fantastic job to take his first win of the GP3 season, and he's going to be thoroughly pleased with that, because that just means he'll extend his championship lead as well after his lead that he took coming out the first round. It was 1 point over Olsen, but now with that win and also coming in 3rd place, he'll just have extended it a little bit more. So then, after all that, it was an interesting one indeed. We had quite a few DNFs as well, 7 in total. But out of a field of 31 cars, and with the conditions that we had, that's not bad going to only have 7 non-finishes. But yeah, very interesting stuff. And I think we do have our second commentator back in the box. And Josh, well, after you went away, Wutke Hoekstra pretty much decided to storm his way to victory. He held on to it after the pit stops and never really looked like losing it after that. Held off a late charge by Ruart before Ruart eventually fell back. But his first win of the season and a well-deserved one by Hoekstra.
Yeah, well deserved by Wupke. I mean, Ruart was always, there and thereabouts near the end of the race, only about 10 seconds away, but it was Wupke's race to win, really.
Yeah, it certainly was. It was an absolutely fantastic victory. And Olsen as well, he did a very good job coming in third. And that just means that he's finished on the podium in every race so far as well.
Yeah, that's consistency for you right there. And, I mean, it's very early in the season, but it's the mark of a champion, really.
It certainly is. So we'll have to see if he can keep that one up then, won't we? Going on into this very long season. And looks like we're just going to have a warm-up session right now. My game has just crashed, so I'll be back.
Wonderful.
Yep, I can't see anything that's going on at the moment, but I can certainly still look at what happened during the race. And it was very eventful, Josh, but after the initial rain, and once all the drivers pitted for softs, that was it then. We didn't see any more of the rain after that, and it just continued to dry out more and more. But still, a lot of drivers continued to get caught up by the wet line, and a lot of positions still changed all over the place, and only 7 cars on the lead lap as well. It was certainly an unusual one for the GP3 series.
Yeah, obviously, difficult conditions in race 1, obviously, but, a bit of an unusual start, but hopefully race 2 will be better.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We'll see what happens. Of course, it'll be half race distance from race 1. Something 16 laps, maybe. I'll have to wait and see. And the top 10 get first, don't they, for the grid? Makes up race 2, I believe.
Yeah, there is a race grid for race 2, obviously, and, great to see that, because it really does throw a bit of a spanner into the works sometimes, but, a good one.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I think, I don't know why I keep forgetting this, Josh. I'm sure it is the top 10. But if that's the case, that means that Van Holmes will be taking pole position for race 2.
Yeah, Holmes, pole for race 2 for Holmes would be fantastic for him. And, might put him in contention for very good results.
Yeah, it could do. It could do indeed. It looked like he just struggled for outright pace once it went dry. But still very much a driver deserving of the top 10 there. We'll have to wait and see whether it is going to be dry or not. We're going into warm-up right now, and it looks like there's just a light rain for warm-up, so potentially wet to intermediate conditions out there at the moment.
Yeah, going to be interesting. I mean, it's slightly less wet than race 1 then, but, what's important is that, it's still, the threat is there because it's still a damn track, and that could throw a couple of people off.
Yeah, it could do. It's really is going to be a difficult one indeed, and it really seemed to be a case of the braking points that drivers were struggling with once the track dried out as well, especially into turns 2 and 3, where a lot of drivers just couldn't quite keep it in the rails effectively of the dry line, and that's where a lot of drivers lost time. So it's a difficult one. As my game has completely disappeared once again, so I'm not quite sure what's going on here for me. Hopefully I'll get this one fixed.
Hopefully you can. Either way, the race 2 is looking to be very good.
Yeah, I think you're right, Josh. Even if it's a dry race, it's going to be interesting because for a lot of drivers, that's really going to be a bit more of an unknown to have completely dry conditions. And we might see some of the guys that struggled in the wet at the start of race two and compromised their entire race, be able to do something much better in race two if it remains completely dry. But we have no idea at the moment what it's going to be.
No, we don't know. As apparently Holland Racing Team in the chat says server crash. It seems that might be why.
Aha, right. I don't know if you've had a similar issue to me then, but we're going to try and get back in. Try and get back in there and see what happens once it all gets going. But it's probably just mean that the break is going to be a little bit longer than what was previously planned. But let's hope it's not too much of an issue.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, technical issues happen sometimes, but it's hopefully we can get them fixed and see how things go.
Yeah. So looking at that first race then, Josh, and the fact that once again Hoekstra and Olsen have done such a good job, especially in these variable conditions, would you say right now that those two are the two guys that are the realistic drivers for the championship at these early stages?
Yeah, at this point in the season so far, but again, there's still 10 rounds to go and anything can still happen, so I wouldn't count any chickens just yet, but definitely going to cement themselves as favourites going forward.
Yeah, it seems to be that way. I think Lars Brugman in the end, it was a bit of a strange one for him because of course he started at the back of the grid after missing qualifying and having to come through from there, but he managed to get up into the top 10 very quickly. I'm sure it was only the first couple of laps that he got there, but then after that it all just seemed to kind of stall out for him, and 7th place was the best he could end up with in the end, and the last guy on the lead lap as well, and only just. So not the easiest of races for him, but still I suppose I think anyone would have been pleased with 7th place after starting all the way back in about 30th.
Yeah, I think anyone could be happy with that, and well, just to get there really, an achievement is alright. Just goes to show determination can sometimes get you great places.
Yeah, it can do, and well, it was a lot of hard work, and I think a lot of incidents that we probably missed a little bit at the back there in race one because it was all happening. But it did allow the likes of Aidan Poulsen as well to come through and get a very good result. But Poulsen's been like that this season, I've noticed. He seems to be able to carve his way through the field pretty well, as he did, I believe, in race 2 in Australia. So looking pretty good for Poulsen. And it's like to maybe see him do better in qualifying. I think that's where he's struggling at the moment.
Yeah, possibly just struggling there, but obviously, as time goes by and the season gets on, there's time to work on that.
Yeah, it is. Certainly is. So, most of the guys get back in now. It has been confirmed that there was an issue with the server, so by a slightly bit more of delay at the moment. But most of the guys have jumped back in, and they're just going around at the moment in this warm-up session, and this time around it's dry, so a bit different. We've had something different this time, and it's a dry track, so everyone's out there on the soft tyres, just giving it a good run around. A few drivers have gone out as well, not usually the same amount that we see between the races. It's often a bit more quiet in this warm-up session, but maybe some of the guys are just feeling that they need to get a bit more practice in after different conditions in race 1.
Yeah, race 1 quite difficult, but maybe a bit of a thankfulness for the drivers that there's not as much going on in race 2. Weather-wise, maybe they'll be thinking, yes, finally we're gonna have a linear race.
Yes, that's the hope. I'm sure a lot of these guys now. Maybe this few that are starting near the back might be hoping for something a bit more crazy, but I think a lot of these guys now would like to have a slightly calmer race for race 2. But it's not going to be that calm, is it, with the reverse grid? The number of cars on track and how competitive this field is. So the first few lap times come through. Menno Klont completes the lap, of course, one of the guys who retired very early on in race 1 as well. So he'll be itching to get back going, but of course he'll be starting around about 30th place.
Yeah, and that doesn't sound good. But again, we can see how this goes. Really, I mean, yeah, as we saw in the first race, you can make loads of gains if you're really good. So you know, not necessarily a disaster to be starting that far down the grid.
No, not at all, not at all. There's thinking as well. We've got 27 drivers so far, so I think we're missing about 3 or 4. Let's hope a couple more can jump in. I think actually a few guys might have just temporarily dropped out the server, so maybe we do have a few more than that. But let's see what happens. Dennis Ranku at the moment, he's fastest. He's done a 1:16.3 ahead of Tobias Olsen, and he'll be hoping for a bit of a better race because he got into a few incidents, I think, in race 1, and that ultimately is what cost him.
Yeah, that probably would have cost him in the long run. But, you know, race 2 is the land of opportunity here in WCS. You know, you get a second race, a second chance to maybe do better than he did in the first. It's shorter as well, so it really does suit the people who have a slightly shorter race format preference, like people who are better in sprint race formats. Like, you know, if you're better in a sort of 20-minute race than a 40, this is your time to shine. Really is a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you completely on that. And just thinking about it as well, Josh, something you might not have known from race 1, but in the end, Hoekstra did probably 23 laps, if my maths is correct. He did 23 laps on the soft tyres, so he only pitted the once to switch from the full wets to the soft tyres, and it looked pretty competitive in terms of lap time for the rest of the race there. So does that mean that we're likely to see the majority of the field do this race 2 on softs?
Yeah, probably going to be likely. I mean, usually I think they last sprint race distance anyway, but you know, likely, possibly if we know they'll last from the likes of Hoekstra doing it.
Yeah, so we'll definitely expect to see that one then, as Hoekstra has joined the track. He was one of the guys that was missing, so it's good to see him here. And De Vries joins as well, so that means we've actually got 30 drivers right now, so pretty much a full grid. That's excellent to see all this race 2, and I can't wait to see it get going. We've still got 4.5 minutes left in race in this warm-up, sorry, as the grid is now actually being set as well, so it looks like whatever issues they had early on hopefully have been fixed now for setting the grid. And just to confirm then that Jonathan Holmes is indeed going to be your pole sitter for race 2 with Ben De Vries alongside him. So De Vries, real veteran to the series, of course, the guy who pretty much runs it along with the help from others, but he's kind of like the head of the series, but so he's always around. But Jonathan Holmes, who's only debuting here in WCS this week, that's going to be a big one for him, isn't it, starting from pole?
Yeah, going to be a big one for Jonathan Holmes, and well, I've seen what he can do before. He's very capable, and well, maybe with a little bit less experience, he might not be up to his fantastic best, but we'll definitely interested to see how he goes from pole.
Yeah, completely agree with you on that one. So looking at it then, let's have a look at who else will be up there. Michael Teachman will be in 3rd, Lars Brugman in 4th, Roy Schroten in 5th, Aidan Polston in 6th, Daniel Brewer will be in 7th, Tobias Olsen in 8th, Stefan Rolt in 9th, and of course Wupke Hoekstra in 10th place. So a lot of big names there, and a lot of big names starting in the front as well, with the likes of De Vries and Brugman and Schroten also, who have all done very well this season. So could be a difficult one to predict. I know we didn't get your predictions last time around, Josh, so maybe I'll ask you now, give you a bit more time to think about it, about who you're going to go for race 2.
Yeah, it's an interesting one for sure, but looking at that grid, I really fancy Sven De Vries. I think obviously with Sven being as good as he is and being there, perfect scenario for him, and maybe Lars Brugman for second, so yeah, positive 1-2.
Alright then, so, oh wow, positive 1-2 as well. That's a real bold claim there. We'll have to see what can happen, as unfortunately in the chat, Jonathan Holmes reminds me of one of my more forgettable moments in my not so good sim racing career on R Factor.
Oh, why do you say that? You've had some podiums that were quite respectable.
Yeah, I've also had other times that didn't quite go too well, and the one he mentioned certainly was one of that. So we have actually switched over to the race then, so a bit quicker than it was before, and I think that's good stuff actually, because we had waited quite a while for the server issues. So that means that the drivers are going onto the grid, and well, my pick for who I think is going to win, I'll do it now as well before we go through the grid. Very difficult one here actually to choose from. It looks like it's going to be dry here from what I can see. It doesn't look like it's wet, it's just overcast at the moment, so perhaps more of a normal race. And well, I'm actually going to go for the other positive sim racing driver. I'm going to go for Lars Brugman to win this one for 4th place, because I think in the dry he's going to be quite mighty, especially now that he's got some laps under his belt in race 1.
Yeah, quite a good choice, Lars. I mean, always a threat anyway, but we'll have to see how it goes, I guess, ultimately.
Yep, so all the cars are on the grid, are they? Yes, they are. Everyone's got onto the grid. That's fantastic to see. And I don't expect to see anything other than soft tyres here as we go onto the formation lap then. So Jonathan Holmes leads them away. It's going to be big for him after being out of the sim racing in R Factor for so long, and his first round, we should call it first round on WCS. He's got Sven de Vries alongside him, with Michael Teachman in 3rd place and Lars Brugman in 4th place. Row 3 is made up of Roy Schroten and Ada Poulsen, with Daniel Brewer for Enterprise GP and Tobias Olsen for Ice Cold Races starting 7th and 8th. Stefan Ruel, your runner-up in race 1, starts ninth, with the race winner and current championship leader Orki Hoekstra starting in 10th then. Antonio Jeljanovic will be starting in 11th place, with Jason Muscat for Multiforce GP in 12th. And then Gerrit de Vries in 13th for Holland Racing Team, and Rob Mason for Stax Racing in 14th. And then rounding out first half of the grid will be Daniel Sharanku.
Yep, Chris Shepherd starts the second half of the grid in 16th place there, and then Joe Watson 17th place. Then it's Jacob Pegg in the Satellite Racing car in 18th place. Then it's Chris Kinsman in 19th for Intrepid Autosport. And Eric Stanford in 20th, and it's Casper Ornstrand in 21st for Performance Racing, and Richard Brooks 22nd, and then Brink Hawks 23rd in the CM Tech, and Marco van der Brink 24th, Niels Voss 25th, Jeffrey Fournier 26th for Stax Racing, Niels Brugman 27th, Johan Lebig 28th, Menno Clone 29th for TR Blue Ross Motorsports, and rounding out the field, Ryan Nash for Satellite Racing.
Yep, good stuff then. So everyone is accounted for. I think we're only missing one driver from race 1. I can't see who that is. I'm not going to try and work it out right now. But the likes of Ryan Nash, Menno Clone, Lindberg and Niels Brugman will be hoping for a bit of a better race 2 here after falling victim to the rain very early on in race 1. As all the drivers come now to line up on the grid. Let's see how Holmes does it. Let's see if he can line up well. Oh, he goes right deep into his box there, trying to gain as much as he possibly can. And de Vries is there alongside him as well in 2nd place. Most of the field are lining up, and they're actually quite bunched up at the back as well, which is good to see. So we're not waiting around too long. Ryan Nash takes his grid spot then, and that means that all the drivers are lined up ready to go here. Is someone just not quite in their spot? Nope, it's all good now because the lights are coming on, the engines start to rise, and race 2 here at the Red Bull Ring is go and underway, and that's a great start by Jonathan Holmes. Look at that for a start. He's clearly away and leads into turn 1. A bit shaky though through the first turn, and de Vries follows him through. Michael Teachman in 3rd and Lars Brugman in 4th. Roy Schroter just goes wide there in turn 1, but slots back in 5th with Daniel Brewer and Tobias Olsen also there as well. And look at that, Holmes is actually now being challenged by de Vries into turn 2, so he did have a good run up the hill. De Vries is trying to go around the outside, pinches Holmes there, and actually runs a bit wide himself, so Holmes is going to try and take that position back. Michael Teachman though is on the back of the two of them, and they're going to run nose to tail down towards turn 3. Holmes is moving every which way, he doesn't know which part of the track to take, and that's left the inside open, has it? No! De Vries is not quite close enough there. Holmes is able to hold on to that 1st place. De Vries has to move and slot back in to 2nd place, and behind him Roy Schroter's taken 4th from Lars Brugman, so good start by Schroten in the end there. And oh, Daniel Brewer's come round. Oh, there's contact there.
Oh,
Rennick
dearie
Hoekstra,
me.
I think it was. No, that's Wupke Hoekstra, I should say. And yeah, that's a bit of a disaster. And hopefully everyone else can get through that. But Daniel Brewer's got a lot of work to do now as they come round. The final turn of lap 1, and De Vries is still all over the back of Holmes. Stick here with these two because De Vries might have a go up into turn 1. He's thinking about Holmes, is it going defensive, but De Vries backs out of it.
Yeah, interesting start. Then I think Brewer just made contact with Olsen, really. Was coming around into turn 4 there. Yeah, he just lost it after Olsen just came left, and I think maybe contact between the two there. And then Wupke Hoekstra was just a passenger as he went into Brewer, and that sent Brewer into a barrel roll there. And then, well, everyone else after him was so good, lucky to miss him there. Incredible how they all managed to avoid Brewer, but he's right down in 27th.
Yeah, now Holmes and De Vries are side by side again. They went through side by side through turn 2, and they're going to be side by side into 3 as well. De Vries has kept it round the outside once again, and somehow there's nothing separating these two guys. De Vries just can't quite complete the move, and Holmes is keeping calm. Oh, he's got a bit wide though with 4, and that's given De Vries the inside line into 5 as well. There's a bit of contact, wasn't there? And oh, Holmes takes a wide line, but uses the momentum around the outside to hold on to that position. This is fantastic racing between these two, but that is allowing Tobias Olsen, who's already up into 3rd place, to catch these guys very quickly.
Yeah, all the time while De Vries and Holmes battle, it's going to let Olsen, who goes wide there, through, maybe Schroten in with a chance. Really, this is incredible racing though, and it's what Tobias Olsen wants, because it's going to let him catch up, and Roy Schroten the same as well. Michael Teichmann as well, watch out for him too. Schroten goes off at turn 1, goes a bit wide there. Not what he wants. That's going to put Teichmann in contention. This is really turning into a multiple car race for the lead here. There's De Vries on also Holmes. Oh, doesn't go for it.
Yeah, to think about it this time around, he tries to switch back, but kind of lost a bit too much time in the corner itself. But he's onto the back of Holmes once again. And it does look like there's a 4-car train really for the lead of the race right now, with Roy Schroten just on the back of it as Olsen gets closer and closer to De Vries. So De Vries will really be wanting to get past Holmes now. This has been valiant defending so far by Holmes to hold on to this position. But it does look like De Vries is a bit quicker than him currently. We'll have to see if he can hold on to it. It's going to be a long race if he can do. He's just pulled a bit of a gap at the moment. He's got the gap out to about half a second or so. And
you see how much De Vries has closed it in the final 2 corners though, Sam?
Yes, he's confident through the fast stuff, and the cars look really quite loose through those final couple of corners, don't they?
Yeah, especially if you're not running much rear downforce to get the turn in slightly better, it can do that. As De Vries wide on turn 1, but yeah, if you're not running much rear downforce, the back can be quite unstable, so you need to get a good downforce balance and the rest of the car setup to make a nice stable car for your race.
Yep, as now they go back up into turn 2. Thought De Vries might have had a go there. But back Hoekstra and Teichmann are battling it out 5th to 6th, and I think Hoekstra's just taken that position in the braking zone into turn 2 as well. So Hoekstra also moving up now. We know how strong he was in race 1, and we'll see if he can catch up to this train here. But Holmes has gone wide in turn 3. That's given De Vries the inside line, although by the time we get to turn 4, that's going to be the outside line. But can he sweep around the outside of Holmes here? He's pitched him down to the apex, just leaving him enough room. It's good fair racing right now, and De Vries is going to go all the way around the outside and gets the job done through 6th and into 7th. So finally Holmes has been overtaken, and the floodgates might open now because Olsen is having a go as well.
Yeah, now Holmes has been overtaken. Olsen's going to get a crack at it if Jonathan can't hold on that much, but he's still doing a stellar job. But Olsen himself goes wide, so this is not over. Schroten wants to go over the podium now.
Yeah, it's really getting dicey here, isn't it? De Vries has been let loose. Holmes is keeping him honest at the moment. But Olsen, Schroten nearly loses it. Coming out of
time,
one.
and here comes Wupke.
What a save by Schroten, losing the position. Wupke Hoekstra takes 4th place, but it could have been so much worse for Schroten right there, as Olsen looks to the inside of Holmes into 2, not quite close enough. And Schroten having a go at Hoekstra as well. Yeah, not quite close enough. Teichmann and Lars Brugman are right behind as well.
Yeah, they are in close proximity as well. You know, really interesting stuff so far. Wookie's doing a great job on the defending from Roy. Really good battle between the two Dutch compatriots here. This is what I like to say in WCS.
Yeah, it really is. Great battling all around between these top 7 drivers so far. And Lars Brugman has moved up into 6th place then. So another position gained for Brugman after falling back a little bit at the start there. Didn't quite seem very confident at the start of the race. Unlike his teammate though, Sven de Vries, who leads right now. Less than a second though. Holmes hasn't fallen back off him just yet. Still seems to be there or thereabouts, but definitely not quite as quick as de Vries.
Yeah, not quite perhaps as fast as Sven de Vries yet. I mean, Sven is doing a great job, but Olsen is tackling Holmes here. Schroeder's gone wide in turn 1 again. He does not seem to like that turn 1, Roy Shaw. That's going to hurt his chance of getting past Orchestra. But Olsen on Holmes now.
Yep, here comes Olsen then. He's going to dive to the inside into turn 2. He's got the inside line, and Holmes has to kind of relinquish that one there because there was nothing he could do. He couldn't turn in on Olsen, and Olsen gets that position. A very nice move by Olsen. Holmes looking back at him. He's fighting back, going to the outside towards turn 3. Going to try and hang the car around the outside, but Olsen's so late on the brakes there. A really good job into turn 3 and actually gaps Holmes a little bit.
Oh, that was a sensational defence from Olsen there. I mean, just watching into that turn, he downshifted 3 times or 4 times within a second. So aggressive on the downshifts there, really giving no quarter. It is the Olsen style in action there. You know, maximum attack or absolutely nothing.
Yeah. And it's definitely maximum attack right now. He's got to attack because he's about 1.3 seconds behind de Vries in front. If Olsen wants to pick up his first win this year. Oh, Schroeder's got off big time.
Oh no!
At the back there, just in the back of the shot, coming out the final corner, he just speared across the track into the pit wall. I can't see if there's any damage or not. Oh, he's lost his front wing, so I think that's pretty much it for Schroeder then here. He's going to fall right back having to pit, and it's going to struggle to make it up in what is such a short race distance of only 15 laps.
Yeah, no front wing on that. It's going to induce massive understeer because there's no downforce at the front of the car. It's just not going to point in, and he's going to struggle there. Ruhl's going to get through just to get that back. You know, it's going to be interesting. Holmes and Hoekstra though now for 3rd.
Yep, a good battle between these two as Hoekstra did get past Holmes into turn 2, but Holmes got the switch back and managed to take the position right back down towards turn 3. So he's just holding on to the podium right now, but Hoekstra is right there. They're really trying to challenge him for it. And if Hoekstra's got any kind of pace that he did in race 1, then I think it's only going to be a matter of time that Lars Brugman and Michael Teachman are there in the background to pounce as well if anything should happen to either of these two drivers.
Yeah, just waiting in the wings really, Lars and Michael, and they're having an interesting battle themselves. Perhaps too, Teichmann actually is having a very good race at the moment in 6th, and you know, impressive stuff from the TR Boss Motorsports Manager team boss.
Yeah, he's kept with the guys ahead, hasn't he? Hasn't fallen back any, and given himself a chance of potentially a podium should anything happen to the guys ahead, or should he be able to make some opportunistic moves, which is what Hoekstra is trying to do right now. He's got to the inside of Holmes once again into turn 2, and Holmes this time tries to stick it round the outside. They're going to be side by side then down towards turn 3. We'll have to see has either of these drivers got better straight line speed. And look at Lars Brugman as well. He's trying to make it 3 wide. Is he going to do it?
Oh, dear! Got terribly wrong Teichmann too!
Oh my goodness, and Michael Teachman comes out through all of that. Brugman and Hoekstra had to come together, and Holmes, unfortunately for him, got collected in it as well. And they all went around and lost a bunch of time. That means now that Teachman is in 3rd. Brugman has come out in 4th. Jason Muscat from, well, he was 13th on the grid, I think, wasn't he? He's now in 5th place. Holmes back to 6th with Ruot in 7th. And Chris Shepherd, another driver doing really well. He started outside the top 10 into 8th place.
Yeah, what really, there was nothing that Wupke could have done about it. He just lost traction because he got too much on the curb. Just lost traction, spun it, everyone was a passenger, and that really, nothing could be done. But Teichmann has really come off well at that. Could be on for podium for the Mexican.
Yeah, said he was there with a chance of the podium if anything should happen to the drivers ahead. And it pretty much did happen, didn't it? All 3 drivers ahead of him suffered some kind of loss of time there, and that does mean that he's currently in 3rd, but Lars Brugman is going to try and recover what he's lost and make the way back up ahead of him. Just looking at Brugman's tyres as well. Brugman is on the hard tyres. I think most of the drivers around him are on softs, aren't they?
Yeah, Brugman may be a little bit concerned about tyre life on the softer compounds. He's gone for the harder one. Might be costing him a little bit of time overall, but it seems to be working for him on the in the long run.
Yeah, that's probably why he fell back at the start of the race, and that makes sense now. Just struggled for outright pace on the harder tyres, but now that he's now we're getting into the second half of this race, we're on to lap 9 already. We've actually completed lap 9 now. That means that the hard tyre should be coming into the road, but not really when you go across the grass like that, as Lars Brugman just did, coming out the final corner, but got away with it.
Just about got away with it. He will lose time to Muscat behind, but I imagine he'll probably get a good, run anyway. Just recovering as we do lose Eric Stanford, but he was in 26 anyway, so quite far down the order.
Yeah, another driver going. We've had 5 DNFs so far: Stanford, Hiljanovic, Klont, Lindberg and Fournier. Quite a few of those drivers also retired in race 1, so a round to forget for a few guys here today, but at the moment for De Vries it's going to be a round to remember, because he's looking good so far, as I think Holmes is not happy with what's going on after I just received a message from him. So he's still in the race in 7th place, but I think he lost another position there to Stefan Rualt, so I'm not quite sure what happened on the previous lap, but that has been Rualt's back up into 6th. We do seem to struggle to make any positions up at the start of the race from 9th place, but now slowly starting to pick up a few positions.
I was just going through the entire field and just watching them downshift into Schlossgold, which is turn 3 there, just to keep an eye on it. And a lot of drivers do like to take their time. Chris Kinsman, I noticed, left it especially late to start downshifting, and then downshifted quickly going into the corners. And then you got the likes of Stefan Rualt and Tobias Olsen, who seem to be allergic to downshifting. They just want to get it over with as soon as possible. The downshift so quickly, I'm surprised they're not blowing the engine.
Yeah, it's gonna. I suppose it benefits from engine braking, but it will certainly do a lot of damage to the engine itself, so I have to be careful of that. I have a feeling, from what I understand, that I think the later you leave the downshifts, the better it's meant to be. So maybe those guys that are leaving it very late are the ones that are really benefiting from the cornering speed and the stability.
Kinsman, I noticed when he was braking, he was quite late to shift into the gears, but then he started downshifting very quickly. So maximising engine braking there, maybe just wanted stability on corner entry, so decided to go with lower revs there and then shift down as soon as he can. Every driver has their style. Mine's drastically slow, but every driver has their style, and they obviously have what works for them when it comes to stuff like downshifting.
Yeah, it seems to be. I'd probably say mine's massively inconsistent, so we're both in the same kind of boat there, Josh, but some of these guys here are doing absolute wonders on their cars right now. Some fantastic driving, and we've seen some really good close battles in the second race as well, and it has been nice to see it in what has been a dry race, a bit of an overcast one. It's not looking too great out there, but it's remained dry, and De Vries is definitely benefiting from that right now. He's got a 2.8 second lead over Tobias Olsen in 2nd place. That gap has only just been grown ever so slightly lap by lap, so looking good for De Vries right now, but having to remain consistent.
Yeah, and that's really what drivers want around here, consistency, in all honesty. So that's exactly it.
Yep, it's key of the season, I think, consistency, and definitely one that we've seen pay the benefits today as well. It all seems to have quieted down then at the front after all of that. I think Lars Brugman's catching Teachman 3rd place, the final podium position. The gap between them is down to about half a second now, so that's probably our closest battle, and I think Brugman's going to try and have a go sooner rather than later.
I'll take him wide. This will be his chance into 1.
It certainly will be, won't it? Yeah, he's made a mistake there as Teachman, and Brugman is going to try and go around the outside, but he's already ahead by the time they get to the braking zone in turn 1, and that means that Lars Brugman does take the podium position, and he's about 4 seconds away from your predicted Positive Sim Racing 1-2.
Well, Olsen, you're ahead. You know, he's a tough cookie. He's a tough customer, as Tobias Olsen. He's not going to give in. Lossie absolutely has to. As we mentioned, he's still before maximum attack. Only got a couple of laps left to do it. You know, I'd say only about 2 or 3 laps left.
Yeah, it's the laps have clicked up pretty quickly in this second race, haven't they?
Deary me, Teichmann just ran into the back of Brugman onto the attack there. Left the brake and exceptionally late going into Schloss Gold. But yeah, he's dropping back now a bit.
That's certainly not going to help Brugman out at all if he was to try and catch up with Olsen. So yeah, it's just separate the two a little bit as well. But I'm sure he's going to continue to try and have a go as they get round back Marco Vandenbroek there in.
Just going to get past Vandenbroek. Oh, he just held up Teichmann a bit there. Nothing he could do about it as he was trying to get out of the way. Oh, going to the corner. There goes Teichmann. Oh, dearie me, that's not good. Yeah, it was just going through there. Just Vandenbroek was there. Obviously, Brugman got him through, and then Marco was there on the inside of the corner.
Oh.
He held his line, which was exactly what he had to do. But
yeah, he certainly did. And at the same time, I think Holmes came out the final corner. Got a bit excited that he thought he was going to pick up another position and binned it himself, so he's dropped behind Chris Shepherd right now, so a bit of a lapse of concentration there by Jonathan Holmes, but that does also mean that Jason Muscat has moved all the way up into 4th place, so what a race for him. He's done a very good job.
Hello, Daniel Chirangu has just retired from the race by running out of fuel, so that's a miscalculation right there. Yeah, he just ran out of fuel and he came off. That's
incredible. He's peeled himself 2 laps short, hasn't he? So
yeah, he's undercut. It's not a 13-lap race, Daniel. It's 15.
I wonder if he thought he was going to be lapped like he was in race 1 or something. And he's just calculated it all wrong. But yeah, disaster then for Sharanku, and that's yet another retirement. And they're really now clicking or ticking up.
Yeah.
They counted up. There are lots of retirements here in race 2.
Yeah, De Vries goes on the last lap then, and well, only about 1 minute in, well, 1 minute in a bit now, they'll be crowned the winner of the race. But yeah, Olsen and Brugman still not that far away, but you know, 2.5 seconds, 3 seconds, 3.5 seconds in 1 lap. Sort of a mistake from Olsen. I think it is going to just be 1-3 instead of 1-2 for Positive, but it'll be a great race by them anyway.
Yeah, it's been good for both of the drivers. Brugman, of course, having to fight back from losing quite a few positions early on, but De Vries has just looked emphatic this race. Battled hard with Holmes. It was a good battle at the start of the race, and eventually he managed to finally crack the British driver and take the lead of the race. And now De Vries just has about half a lap left to go, and the gap between himself and Olsen has actually come down a bit, so I think De Vries has just kind of backed up a little bit here on this final lap, and just taking it a little bit more easier than he was doing earlier on. But with only a couple of corners left to go then for De Vries, he has done an absolutely fantastic job. Once he got the lead, he never really looked like he was going to lose it. And De Vries will come round the final corner then to come across the start-finish line, and he will take his first win of the season, and he wins here in the second race at the Red Bull Ring. A fantastic job for the Positive Sim Racing driver. Tobias Olsen then picks up 2nd place with Lars Brugman, the 2nd Positive Sim Racing car, coming home in 3rd place as well. Really good effort by him. Jason Muscat has got to be one of the drivers of the race, just for where he started to where he finished. He managed to carve his way through the field to pick up 4th place, and there's a real procession of donuts going on down at turn 1. That's great to see. Everyone just enjoying themselves right there. Stefan Rorts then finished in 5th, with Michael Teachman picking up 6th place in the end. Chris Shepherd, another driver who started much further back down the grid and ends up in 7th place. Your pole sitter Jonathan Holmes ended up in 8th in the end after a few excursions and a few issues with other drivers. Wupke Hoekstra, who was the championship leader going into this race, but I'm thinking now maybe he might not be after Tobias Olsen picked up yet another podium. I think Hoekstra might be might not be the championship leader anymore. He came home in ninth with Joe Watts doing an excellent job. Another driver picking up plenty of positions to finish in the top 10. Garrett de Vries was 11th. Aidan Polston struggled a bit to finish 12th. Niels Brugman moved up well from the back to finish 13th. Rob Mason 14th. And Roy Schroten rounding out the top 15 there. A race to forget for him as well. After having a decent start, he just ended up having an incident or two there and lost quite a few positions.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting race for sure, but well done to Sven de Vries on that win, and really establishing why he's at the top of the table. Near it, yeah.
Yeah, really good effort to pick up his first win of the season, and that just means that we have yet to have a repeat winner then so far this year in WCS. We've had 4 winners from 4 races, and that's the kind of competition, the level of competition that we like to see here, certainly. So, very good job indeed by all the drivers concerned. We will have a few interviews coming up as well. Josh, who has been your driver of the day then?
That's a difficult one. Over both races, it's really difficult to say, but I think personally, probably Aidan Paulson actually for that climb in race 1.
Yeah, I'd go with that one as well for his race 1. Very good effort by Paulson to pick up so many positions. That was a bit of a surprise, but just managed to carve his way through all the carnage that was going on. For me, I'd probably have to go for Tobias also, just for once again being so consistent and picking up plenty of positions. Just keeping out of all the trouble when it happened.
Yeah, I just managed to keep it out of trouble, really, and sometimes that's exactly what you need to do. As, we're
being
being joined by some people for the interview, Sam, which I'll let you do.
Yes, absolutely. We've had a few guys pop in now, so we'll start off. Let's see. Well, of course, we'll go to the guy who won race 1 then, and the guy who once again is continuing to show a great run of form and a really dominant win in that first race, and a clever one as well with the pit stop. So Upke Hoekstra, very good effort today, picking up your first race win of the season. You must be pleased with that.
Yeah, I'm very happy with the win. I didn't expect to be up there for the win, but once the rain started, I was just trying to keep it on track, and that worked really well because only Stefan was the only one who could keep up with me, and all the others were spinning or they had to slow down for other incidents and stuff like that. And then when the pit stops came, I saw that the dry line was appearing really quickly, so I moved onto the dry tires immediately, and from then on I had a big gap to Stefan, and I had some lag issues, but fortunately it wasn't that bad, and I could take the win.
Yeah, great effort. That pit stop though looked like it was timed to perfection. At the time, it really did look quite risky though. Did you have a good feeling that you were making the right decision when you took the slicks?
Yeah, I had the idea that it was a good choice because I saw that the dry line was really appearing really quickly, and some people were on intermediates, but I could just see that the dry line was already dry enough for dry tires.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking at it then, you've had a good start to the season, but a bit more of a struggle in race 2. What happened there?
I was fighting a bit too hard, and I pushed the throttle too much in the first place, and I spun. I was still in, I think, 6th or 7th place, so that was still alright, but then Rob Mason got loose on the exit of turn 1, and I tried to avoid him, but we both hit the wall, and I made a few big rolls, so it was quite a big crash. Must have looked cool. I don't know if you saw it on the broadcast or not, but yeah. From then on, I just tried to bring the car home and pick up some positions where I could. So I'm happy to get into the top 10 once again. It keeps my record straight for finishing only in the top 10.
Yeah, fantastic job. I'm gonna have to go look back at that roll then. I really want to check that one out. I have to admit I actually missed that one, so certainly look out for that one. But Wookie, thank you very much for today, and congratulations again for your win in race 1.
Thank you. See you next time.
I see you. Right then. So let's have a look. I think we'll go with the guy who I believe now is our
User left your channel.
championship leader, because he's been such a consistent driver here today, and of course in Australia as well, and that is Tobias Olsen, who really has done a fantastic job picking up a third place in race 1 and a second place in race 2. Continuing the pattern from Australia, you must be really pleased with your results today.
Yeah, of course, I'm happy. But race 1 was so crazy. I think I spun like 3 times or something, and still ended up P3. So I guess that's good. So, and race 2 was also fun, but I think I had an incident with someone on lap 1 or lap 2. I don't know. Not sure what to get a penalty or not. We'll see.
Okay, so still, apart from that, fantastic stuff. But how difficult was it in the wet then?
It was really hard. I think the wet tires was really hard to control the rear tires. They're really slippery, and they went off pretty quickly, at least for me. But then I think it was pretty strange because it dried up very quickly when it stopped raining, so you can almost go on dry tires immediately. I think that's kind of strange. I don't know what's going on, but yeah.
Yeah, it was a surprise to me as well. I have to admit, I didn't see that one coming. But looking ahead, then, I know it's still very early stages in the season, but you've been so consistent so far, and of course, you're leading the way in the championship as well. What are your thoughts? Do you reckon you can go on and really mount a serious challenge for the title?
Yeah, I think so. I'm here to win this time, so yeah.
That's brilliant to hear. That's a nice lot of confidence. I was expecting a so-so answer there. So yeah, really pleased to hear that one. And, well, Tobias, thank you very much, and congratulations again on your results. And I'm sure a race win will be coming your way very soon.
Yeah, thanks.
All right then, let's on to our next interviewee. Let's see, we'll go to our race 2 winner then. Of course, that is Sven de Vries, and it looked pretty comfortable after the first few laps, but early on you had some fantastic battles there in race 2.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome early on with Jonathan Holmes. Very fair fighting, so I really enjoyed that, and massive kudos to him for keeping it clean together, and hopefully putting up a good show on the broadcast. Yeah, it seemed to become a little bit tricky because after a couple attempts, I was still not past him. So starting to get a little worried that it might become a little more difficult than I anticipated. With Tobias also coming up behind me and Roy Schroten, I knew that I had to get past Jonathan first before they would start attacking me, and then potentially get past him first. Kind of figured he was the cork in the bottle there, so whoever got past first could create a little gap. Once I managed to do that, and I saw Tobias get by fairly quick too, and I think we kept the gap between 2.5 to 3 seconds the rest of the race. Was thankfully able to control it pretty well. The pace was definitely there. The car felt really good. In the dry, at least, I was absolutely everywhere in the wet, so that was a race to quickly forget for me. But yeah, happy to grab the first win of the season.
Yeah, good stuff. But I'm not going to let you forget about that race 1. You just about got there in the end, and of course ended up in ninth, which gave you the front row for the second race. But it did look tricky out there. What was it like for you?
It was very difficult. You really had to stay on the line, do not touch curbs. Very easy on the throttle. Every little mistake got punished. So the really good wet drivers, showed. I was not one of them. And I got some bad luck again, same as with Renault Megane around here in terms of my pit stop calls. getting on the wrong tires, and yeah, it was a nightmare altogether for me. But I guess happy to claim ninth position, get some points, and of course the front row start for race 2.
Yeah, and of course it's been a better round for you as well compared to Australia. So you must be feeling a bit more positive now then in these cars and for the championship ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was the quickest in both races once it got dry. So yeah, definitely like the cars, and hopefully we can make up some ground from here on forward.
Excellent stuff. Well, thanks again, then, Sven, and congratulations on picking up your first win of the season.
Thanks.
All right, then. So, final guy to interview tonight, and that, of course, is the second of the two positive sim racing drivers, and that's Lars Brugman. Lars, you, of course, missed out a little bit on the start and had to start a bit further back in race 1,
User
but
was moved
still
to your
managed to come
channel.
through the field there in race 1 and got a pretty decent result.
Yeah, it was a pretty decent race in the end. I only got home about 5 minutes before the race started. I hadn't actually done any laps, so
Your
yeah, I'm really
channel
happy
was
with how it ended.
Yeah, really good. And of course, it was quite funny actually. You only just managed to get in because of the issues that we had getting race 1 go.
User
So you were
disconnected
very
from
lucky
your
there.
channel.
But for race 2, then it looked like you were maybe struggling a bit to begin with. But was that because of your tyre choice?
Yeah, but in the end of the race, it came back to me. So I think if it had been a bit cleaner, I think I would have been a bit closer to the front. I don't know if I could have won, but I wanted to try something else because I knew that Sven had a bit too much pace for me on the other tires. So I had to try something else, and I went with this. It didn't quite work in the end, but I don't know. I think if the race was clean, it could have worked.
Yeah, absolutely. You did. Do you think it was that incident? I think it was coming out of turn 3. Do you reckon that cost you a chance for having a bit more of a shot at maybe picking up a podium or a win?
Maybe, I don't know. It could have, but I think if that spin hadn't happened, me and Bobke would have battled a bit longer. So it goes both ways.
Absolutely. So, final question then. Spa is up next, of course. Good track of yours. Looking forward to it, or not that bothered?
I'm not going to be there for that race, so.
All right, not bothered at all then.
No.
All right, that's fair enough. But well, okay, we won't see you for a few weeks then. But looking forward to have you back later on in the season.
Thank you.
Excellent. So that's it then for our interviews tonight. But of course, we wouldn't want to finish the broadcast without having the final say from Mr. Joshua Anderson first. And Josh, of course, good bit of racing today, bit of crazy weather, and certainly more to look forward to in the future.
Yeah, of course, this is only just getting started, this GP3 series, and I'm sure that in the future we'll have great races as well. And of course, on Monday we've got the McGanns coming back, so what if we'll be able to match the craziness of those first races?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right about that one. The McGanns, of course, are going to be on your screens on a Monday as well, I should say. And that's coming from Zolder, I believe it is, isn't it? In in a few days' time. So that could be certainly one to watch out for, the McGanns, and I'll certainly be looking forward to that one, and I'll be joining Josh there as well. Josh will be taking over from the League Comms duty, so it'll be good to do that with him again. And apart from that, then that's pretty much it. We've got the next round of the Formula 3s, the GP3s, in a couple of weeks' time as well. That'll be, of course, at Spa, as previously mentioned. So a good couple of tracks coming up in both series, and certainly ones to watch out for. And they're, of course, always at the same time. McGann's on a Monday and the GP3s on a Wednesday. So join us if you can. But until then, we'll see you next time.